You guys can hear me. Is there any interference in my background? Can you hear just my voice? Just
I
check it.
can. We can hear you. I
Yeah,
can hear
thank you
you.
very much. So I'll just share my screen and we'll start immediately. I see that Solomon Douglas have been going in and out. I feel like commanding your network to be stable. In Jesus' name. Because which kind of village people is that? All right. I'll share my screen and then we'll start just immediately because I want to be I want to keep to time, right? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So
Yes, we
yeah, thank
can.
you very much. So I'm talking about principles of visual design, and the truth is that this covers whether you're a designer, whether a developer, whether a techie. It's very important that you know these principles. You can mute your mic. I don't know if that is, but it'd be nice if you can mute your mic. Thank you very much. So this is very relevant to whether you're a designer or not, because every day, we we design one thing or another, whether slides or even down to or up to Microsoft Word or Google Docs, little things that we do. These principles are very, 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 very important. Like the name visual. Visual means a design that you can see. It's more of you know a visual design that you can see, right? Design is divided into what works and how it looks like and how it works. But in this context, we're looking at how a design, whatever you create, look. Let me not deviate on in design. But yes, a little introduction. Thank you so much, Emeka, for the introduction. My name is Ifunanya Ativie. I'm also known as Design Goddess. Like Emeka has already earlier said, I'm a convener for START, She Thinks and Designs. Think and Design is an initiative that helps to train and mentor females that are looking to start a career in design and mentor them to be professionals. I'm also a product designer, a design lead, a design mentor, and educator. I started my design career as a graphic designer. I evolved to brand identity design, and I'm presently into product design, project management, people management. Generally, I'm also I'm into ensuring that business um grow beyond just what beyond just a product designer basically. All right, you can find me on socials like on Instagram and on Twitter as Ifunanya Ativie. Why on LinkedIn I am Ifunanya Ativie. All right, so let's jump into it. Enough of me. Nice to meet all of you as well. So what the heck is principles of design? Um like I said earlier, this is for everybody. Like if a techie, even if you're just a normal, you're not in tech space, this is very irrelevant thing that you should know. So design principles, they are combination of two words, design and principles. So like principles, let's measure on principles. So design principles is simply a rule, certain guidelines that you're expected to follow, that guides designer to create something visually appealing and functional across different mediums. So it could be graphic design. Under design is wired, right? That's why we have things like architectural design, engineering design. They're all designs, right? But down to digital designs, some examples of digital designs are, graphic design and user interface design. These are the two common ones: brand identity design, logo design, and the rest of them, right? So whenever you're designing, there are some things that you should put in the front of your mind, not even back, front of your mind while designing, that will help your design look appealing. And these things have been tried and tested, have been tried, trusted, tried and trusted, right? That's why they have eventually become principles. It's just like in our science, they try to tell us from hypothesis to theory and all of those things. So there are reasons why these things are called rules or guidelines or design principles. So in a not, we have, well, there are some places you go to on the internet and you have piles and lots of design principles. But however, I decided to, just work on, choose, the very important ones, um, which are contrast, repetition, alignment, proximity, white space, balance, and visual hierarchy. Don't worry, as we move ahead, we're going to understand each of these. I'm also trying to make sure that I stay in time because this is actually a lot. So please, I want you to put your ears open, and if you have any question, you could just write them down, and then after that, I will answer. Am I? Are you following? Are you there? You can unmute and reply. I like it has been
Yeah,
interactive. Not so much,
yeah.
but then let's maximize like the number we are. Thank you so much. So number one is contrast. Contrast. I know you may have heard this word. It's an English word, contrast. And what's the contrast? What's the difference? People use the word contrast. So in design, contrast refers to the juxtaposition. Don't worry, I'll break this thing down. All these things are grammar. Juxtaposition of different elements in a position to create individual interest, emphasis, or hierarchy. So whenever we say elements when it comes to design, we're talking about the design elements, and the design elements are text, shapes, images, text, shape, images, yeah, text, shape, images, or anything that makes up a design. So when I say elements, what comes to your mind? You just think about maybe a text, a a shape, an image, or something. So in contrast, there must be different elements. There must be more than one thing you're trying to, you know, just oppose it on. You're supposed to. It's not just a plain white background, for example. There must be two elements. There must be two design elements. Like the background itself is a shape, and then I have a test. There must be two elements for you to know if a certain kind of design has a good contrast or not, right? So, and the reason, I'm going to show you guys, the difference between a good contrast and a bad contrast, basically. So, but for you to say that something have a good or bad contrast, it has to be made, it has to make a be made of more than one element. There has to be two or three or different elements that you're trying to compare, basically. And the reason is that you want to lay emphasis on one element over the other. Don't worry, all these things, all this grammar, we're going to see it visually. So if you look at what I have here, right, at your left side where we have the pink. So there is contrast in color and there is contrast in size. So when we say contrast in color, like now, I have this white text on a dark pink. So for my text, you can clearly see this because it has a good contrast. The rule when it comes to text on background is that when you have a light text, you should have a dark background. When you have a dark text, you should have a light background. So if you notice, I did not say white and black, I say light and dark, right? So you can clearly, if you notice, one of the things that got your attention is the one at the left. Like if you're looking from left to right? So, but if you look down, you see this text that says, I am sure you can hardly see me. I'm assuming that the text is talking. Sorry. I'm sure you can hardly see me on this background because I have a bad contrast. To save me, give me a lighter color so I can be seen. Right? So this is what a bad contrast screams. And many people, especially new designers, beginners, are very guilty of this, and I won't blame them because that's the reason for some of these teachings, right? So this background, this text here is really screaming for help. I need you to rescue me. And one way we could do this is when we get a you know lighter text that can be quite visible. So we can say that this text below here, that's like a dark, this dark, I don't know, like a dark, very dark pink has a bad contrast, while this white on a pink has a good contrast. There's also contrasts in size, right? Contrast in size help you to determine what to look at first. So contrasts help help in emphasis. It helps you to know what to focus first, right? So contrast play a good role in emphasis and in visual hierarchy. We're going to talk about visual hierarchy moving forward, but I want you to know that there's contrast in color. And if you can get this very well, because one of the things about design is that you want your design to pass a message. For example, the way you design a flyer, right, it's not the same way you design a billboard, right? You don't even need a lot of effigy when it comes to billboard, and you must ensure that your texts are really big, because most people that will look at billboards are cars passing by, and you don't want to create a bad design by doing something really tiny. Like, no matter how your design is, in quotes, visually fine for people eye, as far as the people you are designing it for cannot see it, it is automatically bad, basically. So this is something you should take note of. So I also showed it here: contrast in size. We have title before body text. This is a body text. You would notice that it's smaller than the title, showing that there is a contrast in size, helping you know which one to focus on first. So this is title and this is body. So this is where contrast play. Contrast can play in color and also play in size. Contrast helps in identifying emphasis as well as visual hierarchy, because I know with time, as you go out there, you start asking things like, what's the difference between contrast and emphasis? But let's just move ahead. This is something you should take in mind. So let's look at this example. I had to look for a flyer that I could use continually to explain all of these design principles, and I found this. So if you notice that this is a very light ash background, so let's look at contrast in color. This is a very light background, and then we have like a colored dark colored text. I can read this. I can actually read this very well without straining my eyes at all. But that means that it has a good contrast. Then let's look at contrast in terms of size, right? So what you think? This is the bigger among. So I talked about elements. This image is an element, this text is an element, this stuff is an element, this shape, they're elements. These are called design elements, right? So how contrast play roles in especially in text. How contrast plays that it helps to identify which text to that the designer is trying to make you focus on first, or focus on alongside other one. Like I said, it's kind of hand in glove in terms of visual arc. But when we get to visual arc, we'll understand that better. But yes, in text, you can even see, even in the background that has yellow, where you can clearly see the EP4, right? So that's that for contrast. So the next one we want to look at is repetition, like the name, repeating. You are repeating something, right? So repetition simply means reusing of the same or similar elements. You see the word element throughout your design. So you want your design to have a good structure, right? So there are some things that you repeat over time when designing, whether it's UI design, or whether it's user interface design or graphic design, right? For example, your font, you're supposed to, whatever font you choose, right? You're expected to repeat it over time. So for example, you choose that the title, every of your title is going to be a particular font. So that means you repeat every title to be a particular font. But while a body text, maybe your title may be poppins, your body text is outfit, right? So what that means is outfit is a name of font, just in case. What that means is that you are repeating every of your title to be poppins, while you're repeating every of your body text to be outfits. So that's what we call repetition, right? So you're repeating, other than having colors everywhere, you're working with purple and yellow. purple, and that's repetition. And when it comes to something like UI design layout, maybe you're doing left aligned. That's the way you structure your design. That means you should maintain that layout. So repetition, so you don't, for consistency, right? So you don't end up designing something that is yaga yaga. Let me use that word. So for example, let's use the same flyer, right? The same text. I could say what you think, right? This a different, font. Normally the rule, right, is that the highest number of fonts you should use in any design is 3. If at all you want to do yege, what's yege? Wow. If at all you want to show yourself, the highest you should use is 3, right? Sometimes I usually do not used to count, main big text as fonts. I just see it as, it's designed on its own. But however, for example, interesting live interviews of people or what they think, it's the same font used here, it's the same font used here, but different size. Is this thing still the same font, but it was italicized? The same font, you could see that the number of font that was used here, if not because of this person want to create one a fizzy here, right? That's why we're having like 2 different fonts, right? The total is 3 fonts. Don't overdo yourself, basically. Well, I don't want to say this thing. I don't want to say rules can be broken. Please don't break the rules. First start with the rules, then when, you know, because if you have a lot of fonts, it has a way of affecting the eye and making, people to lose focus while they are on your design. Are you following?
Yes, we are.
All right, so the third one is alignment. Alignment is one of the easiest things you could ever, you know, remember, or you could ever it's simple. Like I said, most of all these things are English words, right? So let's not make it look very complicated. So alignment is the placement of visual elements so they line up in a particular position, right? So a text or an image or a design may have sorry, excuse me, may have light, sorry, left. When did I start to have Anambra voice tongue? No. A text or a design, a visual element can be left aligned, right aligned, and centered aligned. So I'm going to show you how. So we are all familiar with left aligned, even when we are typing in Google Doc also. We have left aligned, centered aligned, and right aligned, right? So this is just, a view of how what I'm talking about is. So let's look at examples, right? So, like the first example I've always give I've been given over time, you can notice that this what you think is left aligned with interesting live interviews of people, also left aligned with this circle, and left you could see they are properly aligned. Imagine you have a design where what you think is here interesting is just starts from where this eye is, and who is your, like, everything just scatter. One thing with alignment, it helps for proper positioning of your design. Makes your design look appealing, makes your design look structured and organized, and this is something you don't want to play with, right? So if you notice that even here, right, you notice it is right aligned. So Promise, Sebastian, content creator, they are aligned. That's why even in design tools, you will notice that we have this alignment, tools for proper alignment, because it's very, very, very important. So these flyers show both left aligned and for this side right aligned. So let's look at this remaining 2 flyers, right? If you notice, this basically shows centered. You have Port Harcourt Kiniko here, center align, all centered align, right? So then, even if you notice one thing with, so there's a trick with center align, right? If you look at this connection Sunday, you'll notice that everything here just is aligned, right? However, even if you want to do a left aligned in a design that's every that's supposed to be that you want to be seen as centered and aligned, right? Still, you still have to bring it like in the middle. Just like we have this first service 8:45, second service 10:30 a.m. They are kind of, I could say they are left aligned kind of, but still it was designed in such a way that it is centered aligned, right? So that's just here. See, this is left aligned. This is the box is this is this is centered aligned but right aligned. I don't know how to explain it, but then it's important. Imagine if you had, there's a way this design may be designed, and left aligned here and right aligned here, then ethical will not be left here, and the it will just be somehow. So imagine this glorious Destiny Family Church, blah blah blah, is kept here and is in this center alignment way. It's not going to look fine at all, at all, at all. So very, very important to take note of your alignment. So the next thing we want to talk about is proximity. Proximity, when you say proximity, nearness to a particular location. So proximity is simply grouping related elements in a design. So while designing, right, there are things that are relatable. So it's better to place them together, right? So this will help to ensure proper readability by your audience or whoever you are designing for, right? For example, if you're designing something, if you would have noticed that most times if you look at some some flyers or some designs, you notice that things like title and an explanation of what the title is together. If I have my title here, for example, and the explanation of what this title is somewhere at a different place, somewhere very far away, right? You're going to be confusing your users, right? So if you notice that most times time and date are always together, that's because they are related. And if you notice too that list of Instagram handles are together, pictures are together, if you have lots of pictures, right? Why some people they put their picture close to the title and subtitle, right? So what this rule says is that anything that is related together, put them together so that you don't confuse people, right? Though there's some people that break the rule, like for time, after everything they're gonna carry time and move here, put put them in another place, right? It may be a feasible, it has a way of distorting your users mind. Some even after even looking at the flyer, they start looking for, please, where's the venue? Because you disassociated two things that are supposed to put together so that it can be wholesome and understandable. So when designing things that are looking alike, you put them together. So for example, you see this place where we have watch on YouTube, what you think, follow us on handle, blah blah. You see all of them are all situated down below, right? You have what you think and the explanation of what this is all about is close together. You have picture and the name of whoever it is, you know, to, together. Picture is here, right? They are because they are related, so they are placed together, right, and not scattered. So this is very important and a very useful design principle in why designing. Okay, maybe after this, then I'll ask whether we are here. But white space, like the name white space, many of us may think that white space means a space that is white. But white space is just the area between a design element. Like I already explained what design element is. It's also the space within individual elements, including the space between typography. So despite the name, white space does not really mean that the space has to be white. It can be any color, it can be a texture, a pattern or a background image. So let's look at this, the explanation. White space is the area around the design. So for example, you see all this top I have imagined around this white space. The space between this top text and this next text is still a white space. You understand? And despite the name, blah 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 blah, there's a spacing. No, your line height, your your margin, your padding, all of those things are white spaces, right? So it is expected that you have a proper white space when designing, because if, for example, if your design is jam pack, and do not have a proper white space, what will happen is that it will be very difficult for people to even read. It's very difficult for people to even understand. It's going to make people confused, or people you know they are it becomes clumsy. Imagine you yourself being in a very rowdy market, do you get, and you guys are having human traffic traffic in human form, do you get? So it's very important that you have we as designers, we usually say allow your design breathe. Allow your design breathe. So while designing, whether between typography, whether between one image to the next, right, allow your design breathe. It helps with readability, and for proper understanding and for proper passing of messages, right? You can see here that there's space between this and this, there's space here, there's margin, there's space before next. Very, very important. Giving proper spacing in design is something that we should have in mind whenever we're designing. Hope I'm not too fast and we are getting it. I'm just trying to make sure that we don't exceed a lot of time, and then at the same time we're understanding it.
Yeah, we're getting it. Also, if like we're getting it, like I don't think she can see your gestures. Then just say you can unmute your mic and say, "Yeah, we're following." But we're following.
All right. Thank you so much. So balance, when we talk about balance, um I wish I have a balance wheel here. I had that in mind, but I didn't. Imagine, I don't know if you guys have seen these structures in the law. If you were a student or a student, that this balance wheel, right? So it's also applied in design. So balance is the distribution of visual weight in a design. It is expected that you know visual elements, design elements are distributed, distributed in an equal weight. What I mean is that one I'm going to explain with a design. So if you look at this design, right, you notice that is this symmetric or asymmetric? This design is kind of divided into two way, like as though there are two blocks, which is this one here and this one here, right? So if you're looking at designer, it will be as if if you draw a vertical line, you can see this side left at the left and see another right side. So it's expected that whenever you're designing, right, that the weight here, the weight here should should coincide with the weight here, right? Doesn't mean that everything that you have here must be here, but you shouldn't have one side so weighty, like when I mean visual with what people are saying. Like I said, visual, it shouldn't have here so loaded and here is empty, right? Imagine you don't have anything here, right? Or you just have one thing here. This is to be as though the weight at the left is very cannot carry the one at the other one. So when designing, try to see how you can create balance in the design, both in the left side and in the right side, so that people can look at your design and um not feel like there is a lot happening somewhere than the other, right? That's the point of balance, creating proper visual width between the left and right, or top and bottom, depending on how you do your design. All right, so I think this is the uh visual last one, I guess. I don't know. So visual hierarchy, you must have hearing visual hierarchy when I was talking about contrast. Visual hierarchy, like the name visual, like visual means something you can see. Hierarchy means the level from what's the hierarchy, one level to another, you know. Then so visual hierarchy is the principle of arranging elements to show their order of importance. So whenever you do a flyer design or a design, whether you are UX, depending on whatever you're doing, right? There's something you want people to focus on first before the next one, right? That's visual hierarchy. And even in terms of visual hierarchy can also be shown in terms of colors and also in terms of weight. So that's why you notice that we read this first, right? Visual hierarchy was created in this immediately after that. That's the next test, and you most likely. So this has shown that the user or whoever the design for the next one and then this one, and how the designer show that using hierarchy. That means what you want people to focus on first before the next is true size or design. For example, you are building a landing page, the hero page. If it's a hero page that has left and right, left text at the left and picture at the right, you notice that the big to tell you that, oh, welcome to fintech, save your money here forever, something, right? Visual hierarchy. So imagine that an opposite one. Imagine all of these texts, they are all in the same size, the same sizes. Imagine this, and then this text, and then you will probably read this immediately afterwards. Imagine that all of them are of the same size. You notice that you won't even know which one to focus on. So visual hierarchy helps in focusing, also helps in letting your user know which to focus on before the other. So that's this same flyer. You notice that the first thing that came to your mind, that came to your site, is what you think. That's the first thing that the designer wants you to even focus on. And one of the way we usually know, okay, that is just look at this designer, try to close your eyes a little bit, squint, they call it. You see, there are the ones that you can see without stressing your eye too much. Like when you squint your eyes, do as if you're closing your eyes a little bit and look at this designer. Which one can you see, irrespective of the fact that your eyes, you know, is reduced in a particular way? You notice is what you think. Then the next thing that comes to it is these pictures. These are the things. So the designer wants you to look at what you think and also wants you to look at the speakers involved. These are the two things that the first set of messaging that the designer wants you to look at. Say, oh, what you think? What you think? So who are these speakers? See this fine guy, see this fine girl. Okay. Wow, content creator. Before you even start to, the next thing that comes to your mind is, who is your perfect type of guy or lady and what do you admire in them? That's the next thing you're thinking of. Next thing you have to now want to look at is interesting life interviews of people on what they think about communities, career, lifestyle, churches, and lots more. You can see how, like, looking at design, there's one that you saw as important then over the other, and that's because of how designer have chosen to arrange this in terms of importance. So yeah, I think that's that for that. So I know with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you that if your designs do not have all of these guidelines, no matter how your design is, you are doing a bad design, basically. So it's very important that when you are designing whatsoever, have these rules at the front of your mind, and in the end you'll be satisfied as well as your end users. Yeah, basically. So I think that's it for now. So if you have any question or any clarity something you want clarity on, then here I am. Ask me. As a long
Okay.
one.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, can ask her. Um, does anybody have a question?
If you have questions, me I have questions. So you cannot come to my class and you know
You want to ask questions yourself, Abi?
ask questions. Then if they don't have answer, or they're trying to tell me that they're Agba designer, maybe we just bring out something they'll do fast work in quotes.
Yeah,
So,
I noticed that this kind of stuff yeah very important, especially like if you're a product, like if you're into product development. I mean, like in product development is a whole wrap of both engineering, designing, product management, the entire flow to get the product from idea stage to production to get that's product development stage. And design is also something that always has been in this. And so will you mind just discussing about like how you like how it's being done to incorporate into something like design system, so even the developers actually keep in line with that and all these things? Do you like, can you share like something around that?
okay, so let me go into product development. So in this, maybe I'm restricting myself to UI. I basically just design, with the mindset that I didn't want to just restrict it to UI basically, but so maybe I want this to be quite interactive. So someone should tell me a site that he or she wants us to go to, and then using that site, I'm going to explain, or we are going to tell ourselves how these design principles were applied in that particular site. So someone should just call a site, maybe very common landing page site, not Google. Nobody should say Google because, well, Google is not, there are not so much designs to use as an example, as example. So yeah, so let's do this together.
Some initiative. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought of that, but I don't want us to use that yet. Yet we use it too, but not yet. Something with a white background.
I'm looking at you with side eyes.
I want a white background first. Let's start with something simple then. Oh, I don't know. I was expecting that initiative, but yes, we'll look at that too.
Does anybody have any one site to mention? Like any website you visited recently, you really like the design and you want us to talk about it? Anybody? I think a website I've visited, I like their redesign that they did was Flutter Wave.
Oh,
We could look
really?
like,
Why not
yeah.
like that with?
No, I mean
That's
their landing page. I
I
mean their
yeah,
landing.
yeah, I know. I'm just saying it's been a while. In a period
Okay,
of time they ring
Zena Apple website. Maybe we'll check that after.
Apple website. I know when they tell people call website, we I'm calling BB. Let's start with the one I can relate with. But yes, we'll check Apple website. Let's remove this first. Okay, so let's start with I want to know if I have people attention here. But please, if you can give us this, that would be nice. So let me just do a very fast one down. Then we can now talk about endless possibilities for all. So who can tell me what this endless possibility for all, you know, I don't want to be the one explaining. I want it to be quite interactive. So this is the hero page, and what we can see is endless possibility for all, right? So can someone tell us um how how the principles of design were applied here? If you guys are thinking, tell me you're thinking, so that now I'm waiting for people. Okay, you can.
Abraham can go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
It was a mistake. Oh, it was a
Oh,
mistake.
wow. My God of mistakes that turns it to
Okay,
someone else.
Deborah.
It was a mistake.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Okay.
Ifnaya, thank you for the section. I think the hierarchy. I think the hierarchy is in place there. The the endless possibilities for all. I think that's the first focus they want us to see first. That's where they want our attention to go first. Once we land on the page, I think hierarchy is in play there.
Okay. Do you have any other one you want to talk about?
No, no.
All right. So let's follow. You're correct. So we talked about contrast. So first of all, there's this abbreviation I used to remember, design principles, but there are more. There's this common one. The four common one is usually what we call CRAP. CRAP. So C stands for contrast, R stands for repetition, A stands for alignment, and P stands for proximity. So first of all, let's let's look at contrast. So we could see that this is a white background, right? And endless possibility. You could say that this orange color is orange, but you notice that they use a dark colored orange so that it can be seen on white. Assuming they use a very light orange, right? You may have a bad contrast. So having endless possibility for all, right? It's kind of dark on a light background that shows a good contrast in terms of color, right? We have a hash button, and then without overing, there is like a blue colored text. The texts are blue and they are on white background. That shows in a good contrast, right? I wish that I could see a bad contrast so that you can see the effect it will even have on your eyes, right? So this button, that's this mistake that most designers, even developers, is true. There's this stuff that I told a developer to design. The text was white, and he put this stuff to be very light ash. I'm like, no, that's not what I designed. Do you get? So as a developer, right? You want to this you see this stuff, contact seal, it's popping, it's it has a good contrast. So what's the next thing? Repetition. If you notice that this endless possibility is like the hero page text, but let's go down. The body text has a particular font, which is this, right? The same font is also here, right? And this is in terms of alignment, all of these are left aligned. See, left aligned. Even here, it is left aligned to this place. So even whether you're a developer, there's this thing that developer do. I'm sorry, there's this thing that they do. They, I don't know, because of you don't use without using the I heard that dev mode now is now paid. um a developer chatted me up and was asking me for editing access today that is not able to see it. I'm like, I didn't get, unless I don't know if Figma has changed something for you guys now, but then I know of how when you hover around if you have viewing access as a developer, when you hover around, it tells you the distance from here to here so that you can properly align, right? For proximity, you can notice that this menu are together up here. It was not just scattered around, right? I don't know, are you guys following me?
We are.
Yeah.
Yes, very
If you
well.
notice again, this Uber, MTN, cheaper, they are all I think partners. This is proximity. That's why they are placed together, right? If you also notice that from one section to another, there is a large amount of space. That's the description of white space. So this is telling me that, oh, we have the hero section here, and we have another section here, and then we have this section here. That's proximity. You notice that, let me tell you, repetition. The same font they use for this kind of big text to portray something is the same font they are using here. Endless payment possibility for enterprises, showing that they're talking about they are playing on repetition. The repetition, the same font. So they have a font for such kind of titles, right? They also have, but when it comes to subtitles, they have a different kind of font here, right? So that's repetition. The same left align, title, subtitle, sorry, the title, body text, title, body text. It was repeated here. Learn more. It was repeated here, repeated here. Do you get? So that's repetition. The same text here, right? That's repetition. Store, creative, blah blah blah. Left align, right here. Left align. They're playing. I think this also, they are playing with shapes juxtaposed. But then, however, this is still left aligned, and this is still left aligned. Left aligned. Okay. So if you notice something, so they now switched to center align, right? You notice something. They switched to center align. Since this is center aligned, they did not come and say flutter, wave, offer, blah blah blah, and now use a left aligned text here. No. As they're switching to center aligned, and this is supposed to be under this, their texts were also center aligned, right? And it's gang style. Left aligned. So my point is, you can't have maybe this thing is left aligned, as after having this as left aligned, you now change this thing to center aligned to look so ridiculous. Like the text will now be center aligned. No, they moved back to left aligned, just to say that this place is a special. There's something they were really saying here. Okay. So I must have said almost all the so please, as developers, right, one issue I have, when it comes to that, developers usually have, inexperience or stubborn, sorry, I'm saying this, but yes, inexperienced or stubborn developers is they have mad issue with alignment. And I really do know alignment and white space, those two things. Like, guy, that developers and designers are always fighting. Sorry, guy, this is left aligned here. Why you can't they shift this unlocking here? Why you they shift that? Didn't you see the space from here to here? Give us the space. That's where things like design system help. Design system tells you the spacing, and as a designer, there's supposed to be consistency. If you have this kind of text and body text, the distance between here, right, should also be the distance between, let me see something that showed between here, right, because it will help the developer basically. So as a developer, it's very important that you take note of this details, distance between Uber and MTN, all these little things. Some developers, they do not mind, they just design anyhow they want. Distance between where this one stopped to this one, all these white spacing, distances. There's a reason why we as designer left them. It's important, using your dev mode or whatever, know the distance and then work with respect to that, basically. I know, I don't know if I communicated, but that's how, when it comes to UI, UX and product development, you apply these whole design principles. You can see how the site is looking really, really nice. You can read everything. The spacing is wonderful. All of these colors, why they are changing, I think they're talking about different brands, of their services. So they're using different colors to identify these different, services that they offer, right? But then we all know that Flutter Wave is orange. This seems like something where they change, but yeah. So that's that. Is that clear?
Yes, please.
So let's what's the second? Someone said Apple. So I would like, maybe we'll close with this. I would like to, you know, someone should, since I've shown how, Flutter Wave shows, Apple can be crazy, sha. But let's see. They're not even crazy, sha. They're not as crazy as I thought. This thing don't look like something that they are lying with. What's happening? I mean, when you start designing, when you look at anything, see these people, they don't know how to. Oh yeah, someone should, try to identify what's in Apple's landing page. Just may you not be edged. In Jesus' name.
And, I mean, you guys, anybody could come and make a comment. Maybe something you notice. Esther's in a
Esther, are you
or
me? Solomon, are you here? See how I've made your, by the power of Jesus Christ, I've made your this thing, your internet stable. You don't want to still talk. Abraham, Jacob, Swift. I don't know. I'm believing everybody is here, but yeah. Anybody, if nobody's fine, maybe those that watch the replay can, personally do it themselves. Yep. At this junction, I think I'm done here, unless there's any question. I'm here to answer them.
all right. Any question, anyone?
Okay.
Zainab, did you say something, please?
Yeah, I think you always said. You can write it in the comments and send it. So we'll just see. Okay, I think she said no questions. So
Okay.
thanks everyone for joining our class. I hope you guys like learned something new, even if you're not a designer or you feel like getting into design also. There's no knowledge is a waste and there's something for everyone. At least I learned some things that were new. At least balance, proximity and some other things were new. Because sometimes we developers, sometimes we try to like design stuff. We try to build stuff first, then give it to designers. Come and say, okay, make this thing fine. And so something like that. I know if I can relate now. When we design stuff and we just give to designers, I say, please make this thing fine. But yeah, so knowing these principles of design, because some of us will go into freelancing work and sometimes we'll be the solo builder and this kind of stuff. And when you go to freelancing stuff, even as a developer, the site you're building for your client will still have to be fine. So there are some basic understanding you need to know, especially if you're using tools like no code tools like WordPress or Framer to build a site for a client or something like that. You still need to know how to make your site fine and smart things. Like I built with WordPress, I built ugly sites with WordPress, I built fine sites with WordPress, and it was down to knowing how to make it beautiful in such a way that the user can use. Like people will have very strong appeal to it. So knowing all these principles is very important. Knowing how to make things stand out and show very well is also very important. Even if what you're working on is not customer facing, maybe it's for the back office, and so people are still going to use it and they'll need to like understand what you're doing. Also it doesn't transcends to any other thing you're doing. Like maybe you're making a slide for a presentation, you're making a slide for a presentation, you're making a resume also. You need to like add all those spaces and everything. Your resume has to be fine. You know, some people just type their resume anyhow and it's just ugly. If your resume is not fine, your resume that the text is maybe the text is a little bit like use a very light gray color for your text and you cannot see very well what you're writing to affect your chances of being selected and some other things. So this knowledge is it's kind of universal, and so having general design knowledge is kind of universal. You like it to get to a point you will need to apply this knowledge that you've learned here into like what you're doing, and it's going to be very important and pivotal, especially if you want to move forward in your career. So thank you very much, Ifunanya, for your time. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for people that stayed all the way from the beginning to the end. And yeah, thank you very much. Especially Swift. Swift stayed from even came on time, came before 10 minutes before everybody else came. Thank you very much, Swift. And yeah, have a good one, everyone. Have a very good night. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, good night. Thank you.